Hi guys, this is going to be the tutorial that shows you how to do the Glover Stitch scarf. Both of the scarves are done using 3 colors of worst weight yarn, acrylic, and ply size is 4 for the US and 10 for Australia. Also, I used a 5mm hook or size H hook for the main part of the scarf, but only for the beginning chain, just to make sure I didn't have it too tight. I went ahead and used a 6mm hook or size J hook. And this stitch multiples are 2 plus 1. Okay, for this first scarf that I did, I used a site that's called Random Stripe Generator, and I'll make sure that I have the link to the site down in the description box below this video. And you just put in how many colors that you're going to be using, and then it'll ask you the max rows that you want to put in there, which I put 5, so I never got a stripe that was wider than 5 rows. And also it'll ask you how many rows do you want it to generate. 100 rows is about half a scarf, or a little bit more than half a scarf, so I recommend go ahead and change the number to 200, and then go ahead and click and it'll randomize the stripes for you. If you don't like it, all you have to do is refresh the browser, the page, and it'll bring up a new one for you. And just keep doing that until you find one that you like. Then once you like it, you can hit Control P and you can print it off. And it'll print off, mine I didn't have any stripes or anything like that, but it printed here the colors on the page, and then here it'll actually have it in text, which is what I'd follow. It would tell me how much each row of each color. And I just picked the closest one that I could to the colors I was using, and then I just wrote up here so I would know when it said fuchsia that it would be the medium color that I had, and vice versa, and so on and so forth. So, and like I said before, it's automatically on 100, and it wasn't long enough, so I had to do another one. So I recommend you change that right off the bat to 200 at least. Give yourself your full scarf. And so that's what I did for coloring on this one. For this other one, I just changed colors every round. Let me get closer here. See, well, other way. And as you can see, it bleeds in to the row below it. And then this top one kind of bleeds up. So you have it like each row will kind of blend together. So you can do many color different variations, and I'm sure it will come out looking just beautiful. And this scarf is easy to make for a male or a female. All you have to do is just change the color, and it'd make a great gift for anyone. So go ahead and grab the yarn that you want, decide how you want to color it, grab your hooks, and we'll get started. Okay, like I said before, I'm going to use a 6mm hook just for that beginning chain. And you want to start your slip knot just a little bit down, so you'll have a tail that you can work in and hide later if you want. The multiples of the stitch is 2 plus 1. For both my scarves, I did a chain of 21. So I'm just going, and I'm not going to do this too tight either. I'm going to be not too tight, not too loose. Just try to make it as uniform as you can. So go ahead and chain 21 or the multiples of 2 till the width you get that you desire, and then add one more chain. Okay, I just got done with my chain of 21, and now I want to switch my hook over to my 5mm hook. And then I want to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. And we're going to be single crocheting down the whole length of the chain. So by the end of this row, I'll have 20 stitches. Okay, for the next row with this scarf, I changed colors. But before I show you how to change colors every row and the method I use to do that, first I'm going to teach the stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next row. When you get done with the end of the row, you want to chain 1 and turn. Now in the very next stitch, and I always go the wrong way, in the very next stitch you want to go under just this front loop that's in front of you here. You want to go through that front loop only and pull up a loop. 2 loops on your hook. Now you want to yarn over, and then your next stitch you want to go under both loops of the stitch and pull up a loop. 4 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops, and then chain 1. Chain 1 is part of the stitch. It's very important. Don't ever try not to forget to do that after every stitch. So to start again, go into the very next stitch, into that first front loop only, pull up a loop. Then yarn over, go into the next stitch under both loops. Pull through all 4 loops and chain 1. And you'll continue this down your row, going only through the front loop first, yarning over, going under both loops, pulling through all 4 loops and chain 1. You want to continue this all the way down your row. Now if you want to switch colors to do like I did this one here, what I did is after you've done your single crochet row, you want to grab your next color. I can find the end of it. Ah, there it is. It's just hanging there. And you want to take the end and then just fold it in half, creating yourself a little loop here. And then you just want to feed this loop through the loop of the color that you had before. And now you can pull the tail, I should say the feed of the old color to tighten it. And then you just pick up your new color. And then with it, you'll chain 1 and turn. And then you'll continue to do your Glover stitch the exact same way by going through the front loop only, yarning over, going under both, pulling through all 4 loops, chain 1, and then you'll just continue this down the way. Okay, I wanted to show you the end of the row, this very last stitch. Pull through all 4 loops, and the very last stitch of your row you want to chain 2 and then turn. And then you'll want to go into the first chain that you did, because you just did 2 chains. Go into the first chain under one of the loops here of the chain. Pull up a loop, yarn over, go under both loops of the next stitch, pull through all 4 loops and chain 1. Then you'll repeat that for the row. Sorry, I'm losing my yarn here. Again, you want to go under the front loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over, go under both loops, pull up a loop, pull through all 4 loops. So when you're staying with the same color and you're not changing, then that is how you'll continue the row. At the very end of your row, you'll do the chain 2, and then you'll go into that first chain that you did, and then you'll start the stitch, and then you'll finish it in the first stitch of the row. And then you'll continue by doing what I just did by going into the next stitch, front loop only, pulling up a loop, yarn over, go under both loops of the stitch, pull up a loop, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops and chain 1, and you'll continue this all the way down your row. Now if you're going to change colors every round, like I'm going to, after the very last stitch of your row, you'll only chain 1. because then you're going to change colors. So let me just set this down. I did both mine using 3 colors, so this is going to be the final one that I'm going to add. For some reason it's not wanting to. And this doesn't say any color that it is, not that I can read, but it just has a color lot and everything. This is one of the brands you can get here in Israel. And see, this is another one. So sometimes I have to mix brands. I pretty much have to all the time. Okay, so what you do is, again, grab your color like this, feed it through the color that you just were using, and pull it down to tighten it. Pick up your new color. There won't be cutting of any color. If you're doing a scarf like this, you'll be doing many rows of the same color. So I had to cut it after I got done with every color and when I added the next color again. And I added my color just like I'm showing you here. So that's always what you'll do when you're ready to change colors with this one. And at the end, I had all my tails, which I just had to work in. So once you have your new color on here, you'll want to chain 2 and then turn. And then you'll work it just like you did the other. Here is a little bit of a stitch that gets created whenever you switch colors, because it pulls that loop tighter. So when you begin a row where you've changed colors, you don't actually have to go into the second chain or the first chain that you've done. You can go right into this little stitch that was created by losing your loop of this color. So I just go right into that stitch. I feel like I need to get a little closer so that you can see. Not too close. See this little stitch here? That was our loop. I'm going to be going under the front stitch of this loop, pulling up a loop, yarning over, and then going under both stitches of my next, whoops, forgot to yarn over, going under both loops of the next stitch, pull through all 4 loops, chain 1, and then I'm back to the beginning. I'm back to just doing my Glover stitches usual, going through my front loop, pulling up a loop, yarn over, going under both loops of the next stitch, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 4 loops, and chain 1. And you want to continue on now with the Glover stitch until you get to the end of the row. Okay, so to review, we learned how to do the Glover stitch, and I showed you how to change colors when you need to, and how you end the row and begin the row differently when you do start your next color. So that's basically all you need if you're going to make this kind of scarf. Now, if you're going to make this kind of scarf where you're absolutely changing every single row, I want to show you how you carry your yarn along the way. So again, since you're going to be changing colors every row, the very last Glover stitch of the row, you will always only chain 1 instead of, if you're continuing on with the same color of Glover stitch, then you would at the end chain 2. But since you're changing colors every row, just chain 1 to end the Glover stitch, and then what you're going to want to do is pick up the color, which is always going to be this one here. You can see you end with the other one down here, so your green is here. So you're always going to have it 1 row down from you. So in order to switch colors, what you're going to do is go into this chain space, and later on it's going to be chain 2s. But for now it's just a chain 1. You want to go into that chain 1. You want to grab up your color. You want to pull, let me get a little closer. You want to pull this color through, because it's going to bring it up a little higher for you. So now you have it on your little closer here. You want to chain one. And then after you've got that chain one, you want to go ahead and pull your color through the loop of the color you were just using. And now you brought up this new color up to the next row and you're ready to work with it. So you'll chain two and then you'll turn. And always try to make sure that you keep your yarn straight, because it will do this. And the more you don't untangle it, the worse it'll get. So I kind of developed my own system on switching my skeins around, and I'm sure you'll find your own, but just make sure that they're not going to get all tangled up in each other. Okay, so once you have your chain two here, I always tug on my color just to tighten it up, to bring the chain as closest to the scarf as possible. And then you're going to go into this very first stitch, which again was the loop that you just used to switch colors in. And you'll go into it, front loop only, pull up a loop, yarn over, go under both loops of the stitch, pull up a loop, 4 loops on the hook, pull through all 4 loops, then chain. And you'll continue your Glover stitch this way all the way down. So continue to do that, and I will show you again the method of changing your color, or I should say bringing up your color on this side. Again, I reach into my row, and I need to now work with my next color, which is going to be the green. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the color that I'm working with now, grab up my green, and now I'm going to go in here, which is now a chain two, chain two. You want to go in through this stitch, pull up a loop through it, and then chain one, and then just pull that color through the loop of your main color, and then pull your main color to tighten it. Then chain two and turn. And then again you go in through this. Whoops. Always best to make sure that you've tightened this as much as possible, because you want to be able to make sure that you go in through the first right stitch, the correct first stitch you need to go in. So go into the front loop only, then yarn over, go under both, and we're just going to continue our Glover stitch as usual. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this green, and then I'm going to go through the orange once, and then I'm going to show you how you would end your scarves, how you would end both of these scarves. Okay, to finish this scarf up, the one like this, sorry, let me back up just a bit. What I did is I was just repeating the colors until I got to about the length of the scarf that I wanted, and then I basically finished it with the last 5 colors that I'd used here. I did this for 5 rows, so I ended it with the 5 rows on the other side. This was not intentional, this just happened to be. It could have easily been the peach here. So you just want to end the very last with the same amount of rows and the same color. That way it just kind of looks better, I think. And with the other scarf, this one, I continued my scarf till I had about the length that I wanted, and then I waited until I got up to where my very next row was the color of my very first row. And when I had made it up to here, by the way, I did 1 row of single crochets at the very end of this one. So once I'd had my 4 rows of this stitch that I had, actually let me make sure. One, two, three, four, 5. Okay, so I did 5 of this color, and then 5 of this color, and then I have my beginning single crochet row where I started, and then I just did 1 row of single crochets to finish it. But this one with the stripes like this is just a little different. Okay, so once you make it to the row where it's the color of the beginning, You're going to switch colors like you did before. Get my color up here, chain 1, pull it through my loop. Then I'm only going to chain 1 instead of the chaining 2 that we were doing before. And then instead of doing my Glover stitch this round, I'm just going to go under both loops of my stitches all the way down the row. And I'm going to do a row of single crochets. And this is what I did with my other scarf as well. I just went under both loops and did 1 row of single crochets. But at the end of my row with the striped scarf like I have here, just doing 1 row of single crochets wasn't good enough. So in order to get it more even, what I did is for this one I actually did 2 rows of single crochet. So this was the first row, the one you kind of see that's bleeding into the row below. That was my first row and it was still too short, so I went ahead and I did a second row of single crochets and then it kind of evened out. So you only really need to do 1 row with the generated stripes scarf. But I would say with this striped scarf like this, do 2 rows of single crochets. And then you'll have the same as the beginning. See, as you see, this is just too short of a row. You really need a second one. And then it'll match. So that is it. That is how you make the Glover Stitch Scarf. I really hope you liked this tutorial. If you did, please don't forget to click that like button under the video and show your support. It really helps me out. Also, if you're a first-time watcher or you haven't gotten around to subscribing to the channel yet, please don't forget to click that subscribe button. Underneath the description of the video, I'll have the links to the link, what's it called, random stripe generator here, and links to the pattern. Also, all the links to my social media and everything that you need to know is right there underneath the description of the video. So thank you guys so very much for watching.